You may say, well, if it is not the polygamy and not the drink that makes the West African as useless as now is a developer, or a means of developing the country, what is it? In my opinion, it is the sort of instruction he has received. Not that this instruction is necessarily bad in itself, but bad from being unsuited to the sort of man to whom it has been given. It has the tendency to develop his emotionalism, his sloth, and his vanity, and it has no tendency to develop those parts of his character which are in a rudimentary state and much want it, thereby throwing the whole character of the man out of gear. The great inferiority of the African to the European lies in the matter of mechanical idea. I own I regard not only the African but all colored races as inferior in kind, not in degree, to the white races, although I know it is unscientific to lump all Africans together and then generalize over them, because the difference between various tribes is very great. But nevertheless, there are certain constant quantities in their character, let the tribe be what they may, that enable us to do this for practical purposes, making merely the distinction between Negroes and Bantu, and on the subject of this division I may remark that the Negro is superior to the Bantu. He is both physically and intellectually the more powerful man, and although he does not Christianize well, he does often civilize well. The native officials cited by Mr. Hodgins in his letter to the Times of January the 4th, 1895, as having satisfactorily carried on all the postal and the governmental printing work of the Gold Coast colony, as well as all the subordinate custom house officials in the Niger Coast Protectorate, in fact, I may say all of them in the whole of the British possession on the West Coast, are educated Negroes. I am aware that all sea captains regard this latter class as poisonous nuisances, but then every properly constituted sea captain regards custom house officials, let their color be what it may, as poisonous nuisances anywhere. In addition to these, you will find, notably in Lagos, excellent pure-blooded Negroes in European clothes and with European culture. The best men among these are lawyers, doctors, and merchants, and I have known many ladies of Africa who have risen to an equal cultural level with their lords. On the West African seaboard, you do not find the Bantu equally advanced, except among the Mpongwe, and I am persuaded that this tribe is not pure Bantu, but of Negro origin. The educated blacks that are not Mpongwe on the Bantu coast, from Cameroons to Bengula, you will find are Negroes, who have gone down there to make money. But this class of African is the clerk class, and we are now concerned with the laborer. The African's own way of doing anything mechanical is the simplest way, not the easiest, certainly not the quickest. He has all the chuckle-headedness of that overrated creature, the ant, for his head never saves his heels. Watch a gang of boat boys getting a surf boat down a sandy beach. They turn it broadside onto the direction in which they wish it to go, and then turn it bodily over and over, with structure-straining bumps to the boat, and any amount of advice and recrimination observations to each other. Unless under white direction, they will not make a slip, nor will they put rollers under her. Watch again a gang of natives trying to get a log of timber down into the river from the bank, and you will see the same sort of thing. No idea of a lever or anything of that sort. And remember that, unless under white direction, the African has never made an even 14th rate piece of cloth or pottery, or a machine, tool, picture, sculpture, that he has never ever even risen to the level of picture writing. I am aware of his ingenious devices for transmitting messages, such as the cowrie shells, strung diversely on strings, in use among the Yoruba, but even these do not equal the picture writing of the South American Indians, nor the picture the Red Indian does on raw elk hide. They are far and away inferior to the graphic sporting sketches left us of mammoth hunts by the prehistoric cavemen. This absence of mechanical aptitude is very interesting, though it is most likely has the very simple underlying reason that the conditions under which the African has been living have been such as to make no call for a higher mechanical culture. In his native state, he does not want to get heavy surf boats into the sea. His own light dugout is easily slid down. He does not want to cut down heavy timber trees and get them into the river, and so on. But this state is now getting disturbed by the influx of white enterprise, and not only disturbed, but destroyed. and so he must alter his ways, or there will be grave trouble. But it is encouraging to remark that the African is almost as teachable and is willing to learn handicrafts as he is to assimilate other things, provided his mind has not been poisoned by fallacious ideas, and the results already obtained from the crewmen and the Akras are good. The Akras are not such good workmen as they might be, because they are to a certain extent spoilt by getting, owing to the dearth of labor, higher wages and more toleration for indifferent bits of work than they deserve or their work is worth. But they have not yet fallen under that deadly spell worked by so many of the white men on so many of the black. The idea that it is correct and proper thing not to work with your own hands, but to get some underling to do all that sort of thing for you while you read and write. This false ideal, formed by the native from his empirical observations of some of the white men around him, has been the cause of great mischief. He sees the white man is his ruling man, rich, powerful, and honored, and so he imitates him and goes to the mission school classes to read and write, and as soon as African learns to read and write, he turns into a clerk. Now there is no immediate use for clerks in Africa, certainly no room for further development in this line of goods. What Africa wants at present, and will want for the next 200 years at least, are workers, planters, plantation hands, miners, and seamen, and there are no schools in Africa to teach these things, or the doctrine of the nobility of the labor save the technical mission schools. Almost every mission on the coast has now a technical school just started, and or having collections made at home to start one. But in the majority of these crafts, such as bookbinding, printing, tailoring, etc., are being taught which are not at present wanted. Still, any technical school is better than none, and apart from lay considerations, is of great religious value to the mission indirectly, for there are many instances in mission annals of a missionary receiving great encouragement from the natives when he first starts in a district. At first the converts flock in, get baptized in batches, go to church, attend school, and adopt European clothes with an alacrity and enthusiasm that frequently turns their devoted pastor's head. But after the lapse of a few months their conduct is enough to break his heart. Dressing up in European clothes amuses the ladies and some of the young men for a long time, in some cases permanently, but the older men and the bolder youths soon get bored, and when an African is bored, and he easily is so, he goes utterly to the bad. It is in these places that an industrial mission would be so valuable to the spiritual cause, for by employing and amusing the largely preponderant lower faculties of the African's mind, it would give the higher faculties time to develop. I have frequently been told when advocating technical instruction that there are objections against it from spiritual standpoints, which, as to my own views, do not enable me to understand them and will not enter into. Also, several authorities, not mission authorities alone, state with ethnologists that the African is incapable of learning except during the period of childhood.